Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to day 4 of this little blogging series here on YouTube. So today's video is going to be all about working with brands, sponsorships, paid collaborations, whatever you want to call it, because if you guys didn't see my November income report, you should definitely go see it. I pretty much shared with you guys that the majority of the money that I make with blogging comes from sponsorships, comes from working with brands. So in that video, it seems like you guys in the comment section, you guys were pretty interested in me elaborating a little bit more about working with brands. It seems like you guys had some questions. So I really just wanted to like sit down and chat with you guys and share my experience working with brands, answer some questions that I feel like I always get asked. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing that a lot of people want to know is, number one, they want to know like, when is it appropriate to work with brands? When am I going to stand a chance to work with brands? When are brands going to want to work with me? If you're a content creator, whether you're a blogger or a YouTube, a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing today really applies to both. So I hope that you find this useful. If I'm going to be really honest with you, there's a lot of people that are going to say, oh, you can work with brands whenever. Like you can have 2 followers and as long as you make an impact, you can work with brands. Like I love the thought behind that answer, and to a certain extent, yes. Like if you have an engaged following and if you have 250 subscribers or 250 Instagram followers and all 250 of them value your opinion and they're gonna buy whatever you're promoting, then yes, you kind of have a chance to maybe work with brands. But if you want to be more realistic, I think that you kind of have to step back and think about what a brand would want. So if you're a brand and you're looking to partner with influencers, are you going to want to partner with an influencer who has 250 followers, or are you going to want to partner with someone who has 10,000 followers? I mean, to a certain extent, you kind of have to be honest with yourself and you have to say, okay, like I need to maybe work a little harder to get to a level where I am more valuable to a brand. And I know that sounds harsh because I'm not saying that it's just about numbers, but I think it's about finding a good balance. You do have to have a certain amount of numbers, but you also have to be able to bring real value. If you have 10,000 followers and then only like 2 people like your photos, you know how that game works. That pretty much shows that you have a very unengaged following, and as a brand, if I was, looking for influencers to work with, like that's just not gonna work for me. But as a starting point, like as a rule of thumb, I would probably wait until I have about 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 Instagram followers. I feel like 1,000 is a good number to start with to be able to approach a brand and to have a brand look at your profile and say, okay, well, obviously they've gathered a following of people. They don't have 5 followers. They don't only have like 5 photos on their feed, because you want to be able to show a brand that you've been doing this for a little while, that you have some experience under your belt. So I would say, like, if I needed to give you like just an arbitrary number to like reach for, I would say 1,000 was probably a good bet. I started working with brands like 3 years into blogging, and I kind of talk a little bit about that in the Q&A that I posted yesterday. I went into this blogging world not knowing that this was even a way to make money. So it took me a while to get to a point where I was applying for campaigns that we'll talk about a little bit later, or to get to the point where brands were approaching me. Regardless of what size following you have, I think it's important to remember that if you're looking to work with brands on sponsorships, on collaborations, you have to remember like what the brand is looking for. The brand is looking to give you their product, or they're looking to pay you in some capacity to market their product or their service. So they're hoping that by either giving you that product or paying you a certain amount of money, they're hoping that you're gonna give them exposure, that your followers are gonna become interested in their product. You're really being an extension of their marketing team. So that is like the essence of what doing these like paid collaborations is. Like you are an extension of that company's marketing team, instead of them paying money to post like a billboard somewhere, or instead of them paying for like a traditional radio ad or a TV commercial. They're using influencers in what's now called influencer marketing to showcase their product. So if you're not gonna have any impact, like if you're not going to provide any kind of results, then they're not gonna be too happy with that. So you really wanna make sure that you're at the point in your online business or in your YouTube community, whatever it is that you've been kind of working on, you wanna make sure that number one, you feel comfortable sharing other products with your followers, and you wanna make sure that you're just like at a point where you feel like you do have a level of authority, a level of, you share stuff and people are interested, and you like recommending products and other people are kind of engaging with you, if you're just throwing stuff out there and you're hearing crickets and no one is DMing you and no one is engaging with your content, then that's probably not the kind of influencer that brands are going to want to work with. So my biggest piece of advice, if you're looking to work with brands, is to spend some time fostering that community, to spend some time really working hard to engage with your community, whether you have 250 followers or 1,000. So that way you can prove to brands later on when they do tell you no, because regardless of how big you are later down the road, you're gonna get rejected. You're gonna have brands tell you, oh, I don't really think that you're a good fit. You wanna be able to have proof, evidence, DMs from people saying, oh my God, what was that hair product you recommended? Oh my God, what was that baby food you recommended? You wanna have that kind of evidence to be able to tell brands, you know what? I totally understand where you're coming from, but just so you know, like even though I have 250 followers, I'm a respected authority in my field, or I'm a respected authority in this community. My mommy followers are constantly asking me for product recommendations. The more of that you can foster and the more of that you have under your belt, then the easier it's gonna be for you to work with companies down the road. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm hoping it does. But that's probably some of like the best advice that I can give you if you're looking to work with brands. The other thing that I want to say about these paid collaborations and working with brands is that in my experience, the more platforms you have, the better your chances of working with a brand. So if you just have an Instagram account and you approach a brand and you say, oh my God, I've got this Instagram account, look, I have 10,000 followers, like that's great. But imagine if you're a brand and you get a request from someone like this, somebody who has an Instagram account, 10,000 followers, or you get an email from another influencer who says, hey, I've got this Instagram account, I also have a blog, I also have a YouTube channel, and I'm on Pinterest, these are my followers. Like, you see where I'm going with that? The more reach that you have, essentially, that's always gonna be in your favor. So I personally have found so much value in being able to show a brand that I'm able to produce written content, take photos, edit photos, and now even create videos. Like, that's a big deal. Like, to be able to do all of those things is very, very valuable. And that really is how you set yourself apart from somebody who just has an Instagram account. That being said, you're also gonna be paid more. So you're gonna be paid more if you negotiate a deal with a brand that says, okay, I'm gonna write one blog post, I'm gonna include 3 or 4 photos in that blog post, and I'm gonna share it on social media, and I'm gonna maybe even do a video on YouTube. Like, if you can create some kind of package for brands and it includes all these deliverables, I promise you that you're gonna get paid a lot more by a brand than if you just say, okay, I'm gonna do one Insta story, swipe up, and maybe an Instagram photo. But I guess let's backtrack a little bit, because before I continue giving you advice about working with brands, a lot of people wanna know, like, in the first place, like, how do you even work with brands? So in my experience, there's really 2 ways that you work with brands. So the first way is when you yourself, as an influencer, you apply for campaigns that are already posted. So in this online space, there's a variety of different like influencer networks, and those networks I've talked about before. I'm pretty sure in my stay-at-home mom video where I talk about how I make money, which I'll leave down below, but I'll kind of try to touch on it a little bit. But basically, these influencer networks, they're websites online where you can go, you create a login, a username, a password, whatever, and you have access to pretty much this like dashboard. This dashboard essentially lists different opportunities that exist for influencers to work with brands. So they're kind of like the middleman, connecting influencers with brands. And you don't just click a button and say like, oh yeah, like Coca-Cola has a campaign, I would love to work with them, boom, and then they pay you. Like, that's not at all how it works. There's a bunch of influencers who are looking and trying to land these campaigns, but at least in the influencer networks that I am a part of or I have used, what I'll do is I'll go and I'll see what's available, and then I click on those campaigns. And essentially what you have to do is you kind of have to fill out an application almost. The brand is saying, okay, we have this new product, we want to be able to have influencers showcase it. Like, what's your idea? How would you promote this? If you are going to create a photo, like, what's your idea behind your photo? So it's kind of like just filling out an online application, and you're applying to work for this campaign. It doesn't mean that you're going to be picked. It means that you're applying. It means that you're pitching for that idea. And if the brand reads your response and really likes it and decides, you know what, that's the influencer for us, we really want her to be a part of this campaign, then they'll accept you for that project. You're always gonna know like what you're gonna be paid for that. So like when you go to apply for a campaign, it's gonna tell you compensation for this campaign is $200. So that way at least you know going into it what that's gonna give you. But yes, I have filled out thousands of applications for campaigns that I have not been selected for. So there's a lot of upfront work that goes into into that. But every once in a while, I'll get one of those emails that says, you know, congratulations, you've been selected to be part of this campaign. And then great, then I work with the brand. Normally there's an agreement of some kind that you're gonna sign. Then you have like a list of deliverables. So you need to have your blog post up by this day. You need to have your photos up by this day. Or sometimes a brand will ask that you deliver like a draft before you post anything. So there's just a lot of components in these kind of campaigns, but that in a nutshell is like one of the ways that you can work with a brand. Brand posts something, you apply for it, and if they like you, then they select you to work on that. The second way that you can work with brands is by just straight up pitching brands. Now, the idea of just cold pitching a brand can be very scary, and it's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do it. I'll be honest, and I'll tell you that it wasn't until like last year, but mostly this year, that I really started pitching to brands. So how do you pitch to a brand? So my first piece of advice would be to really spend some time figuring out which brands are already working with bloggers and influencers, okay? There's a lot of brands that absolutely know nothing about influencer marketing, and if you email them and you say that you're a blogger and you want to work with them, they're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, who is this person emailing me? And you're just wasting your time. But at least over the last few years, there have been more and more brands who are receptive to this kind of marketing, and they really understand the value that influencers bring to the table. So one of the things that I like to do is I will spend some time on Instagram and I'll search through the hashtag ad. So hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored, hashtag partner, and then that'll take you to all of the photos that are essentially bloggers working with other brands. And then I'll save those photos like into like a little collection that I have on Instagram. And then that way I can always kind of go through my Instagram little collection and I know which brands are already working with bloggers. That tells me that at least those brands know what's up, at least those brands know a little bit about influencer marketing, and they're already receptive to working with other bloggers. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna email them and they're gonna be like, oh my God, yes, we'd love to work with you, but at least I stand a better shot because they already have a system in place to work with bloggers. Like, it's not the first time that they've done this, so that kind of gives you a better shot at collaborating with them. So once you have some brands that you're interested in working with, now you need to actually reach out to them. So the first part of the problem is figuring out like, how do I even like contact them? Like, I can't just like pick up the phone and call them. Like, what number do I call, or how do I get a hold of somebody? So I'll go to a brand's website, and normally like all the way at the bottom, you're gonna find some kind of link that says either media or press or media inquiries or contact. So normally I'm looking for one of those words, and normally you will get some kind of an email address. If there's an email address that you see that's like PR@coca-cola.com or PR@whateverbrand.com or the brand at PR, anything that has to do with PR, which is short for public relations, or just media, those are probably the emails that are gonna get you to the right person. So I spent some time on these websites just doing some digging, trying to find a contact email. A lot of websites will also just have like a little contact us box, and then you can fill out the box and send like an email through that. But if I'm not going to the website and finding like an email address there, another thing that I've done in the past is I'll go to Instagram and I will message the brand, and I'll message them with my standard, you know, pitch. And then what'll normally happen is a couple of things. So number one, I never hear from them again. So like, don't be offended when brands don't like respond to you, because again, imagine they're getting a bunch of pitches, they're getting a bunch of DMs and inquiries, and sometimes either they don't have time to get back to you or they don't want to get back to you. So don't take it personally, like when you don't hear a response, because at least the way that I see it is, if you're not getting a no, then you're doing something wrong. Okay, because if you're not getting a no, then that means that you're not putting yourself out there enough. So get comfortable with hearing no, and then you'll hear eventually a lot more yeses, because you're putting yourself out there and you're doing the work that it takes to eventually get a yes. So you'll message them, you'll either get straight up like a no, we're not interested, or they'll never respond to you. But every once in a while, I'll get a response from someone who I will message back and forth, and eventually we'll decide on a collaboration. But what will happen a lot of times is they'll respond to me and they'll say, oh, this is great, we'd be interested in discussing this further, but please email us at this email address. And then I'll take it off of Instagram and I'll message them, you know, in email, and then the rest of our communications are that way. And that helps a lot, because a lot of times they're gonna direct you to the exact person that is responsible for collaboration. So if you have a hard time finding a contact for a brand, sometimes just messaging them on Instagram will help you find that contact. All right, so once you figure out who you need to speak with or how you're going to deliver this message to them, like what the heck do you tell them? Like, hi, I'm Kayla, send me stuff. Like, what are you supposed to tell them? And this is where I feel like a lot of people get stuck. This is where they're like, I just don't know what to say, and then it leads to them just being totally taken advantage of. So normally, if it's on Instagram message, it's a little bit more informal. So normally I'm gonna say something along the lines of, hi, you know, my name is Kayla, I'm a lifestyle and motherhood blogger. I'm gonna tell them that I love their product. I'm gonna say something nice about their product. Because if you don't like their product, then like, why the heck are you spending time reaching out to them? You should really only be reaching out to them if you genuinely enjoy their product or you see something that you're interested in. So normally after I kind of introduce myself, I'm gonna tell them what I really enjoy about their product. And then I'm gonna pretty much just ask if they're looking for other content creators to work with. I'm gonna say something to the effect of, you know, if by any chance you're looking for any content creators to partner with in the upcoming months, I'd love to be considered. And then sometimes, depending on how long I want my message to be, I can kind of include some quick stats. I can say, you know, my blog receives 30,000 page views a month, or I have a 2% engagement rate. Whatever really great stats you have to show a brand that they really want to work with you, whether that's your page views, your engagement rate, the amount of DMs you get, like find something that's really great that you can highlight. That's always something that a brand is going to appreciate. And then I'm going to close. I'm going to say something to the effect of like, I'd be happy to send you my media kit if you're interested in checking that out. Or, you know, I would love to discuss this further if you're interested. Thanks so much for the consideration. I look forward to hearing from you soon. My name. So something to keep in mind is the fact that that pitch, there is a fly in this room. Oh my God. The same freaking fly was here yesterday when I was filming. And it is the most annoying thing in the world. I don't live in a house of filth. Like, I want you guys to know that. Like, I'm not working out of a dumpster and I have no idea why there's a fly in here. Whatever, so let's continue. So that pitch is gonna vary depending on who you're emailing, depending on what brand you're working with, depending on whether you're emailing them directly or messaging them on Instagram. And if you're doing things right, you're also changing that pitch up till you figure out what works. So you figure out like what brands are responding well to. I have changed my pitch 1,000 different times to figure out like, okay, do brands respond better if I have 2 paragraphs or 1 paragraph? And so you kind of have to make sure that you're including the essential stuff, but then change it up. If you're just hearing crickets every once in a while, try to change it up and see if there is something that you could be doing differently that maybe brands are going to respond better to. But you do want to make sure that you have a media kit handy. So I'm going to leave a link down below to Creative Market, which is my favorite like online marketplace for creative stuff. Like, oh my God, I can't even deal. I think it's all the lights, like it's like attracted to the lights, but why doesn't it just like die? So Creative Market has a bunch of these like done and ready for you media kits that you can just buy and then download, and then you can fill in your information. That's where my media kit is from. So I'm gonna leave a link down below to a few of my favorites, but you can just go into Creative Market and then you can type media kits or blogging media kits, influencer media kits, something along those lines. But that media kit should tell a brand right away, like, what are your stats, who's your audience, what are you about? And then definitely if you've worked with brands in the past, you want to be able to show some examples in that media kit so that brands know that you have experience doing this. This video is already getting super long, so I'm going to mention a couple more things, but then if you have any other specific questions about working with brands, about sponsorships, leave them down below in the comments so I can answer those there. Just do a follow-up video, but if not, we're gonna be here forever. A couple things that I wanted to get across that I wrote down here on this piece of paper. Number 1, do not undervalue yourself. I don't care if you have 100 Instagram followers or 1,000 or 10,000. You should never be okay with a brand asking you to do a million things and then not compensating you. So obviously when you start off, there's a lot of conversation about whether or not you should accept free product. That's a very personal decision. In my opinion, I do not think that you should accept free product and then owe a brand 10 photos, perfectly styled, professionally edited, where the value of the product that you're receiving is just not in line with the amount of work that they're asking for you to do. If a brand says, look, we have this new sippy cup for a baby, we'd love to send it to you. I've got brands that do that to me all the time. Hey, we've got this new product, we'd love to send it to you, send me your address. And when that happens, like, I'm very gracious, I'm very thankful that they send me those things. But just because they send me a free product does not mean that I'm gonna take 3 photos and send them back and do a blog post on a sippy cup that costs $5. Like, that's just straight up, that's not what my rate is at all. Because like, think about it, there are brands out there that are willing to pay me $100, $200, $300 to partner with me. And so out of respect to those brands that will pay me, why am I gonna do the same thing for free for another company? Does that make sense? When I get free product, normally if I do like the product, I do always share it on my Instagram. I always share it on my stories. I will even sometimes include a swipe up feature, which should send some traffic to the brand. I'm gonna tag them. I'm gonna use whatever hashtag they sent me, but I'm not going to go out of my way to spend hours and hours creating content for free product. That to me, it's just not what I want to do at this moment in my business. Now that's also going to depend on the value of the product. So I'm talking here about a $5 sippy cup. To me, that's not the amount of work that I'm going to be doing. It's not equivalent with the $5 sippy cup. But the other day I had reached out to a brand and they said, look, at the moment we don't have any opportunities for paid collaborations, but we'd love to send you a product. And it was for a new car seat for Riley. Now this car seat is a $300 or $400 car seat. So they offered to send me this car seat in exchange for a blog post, and I think I even told them that I'd be happy to do a video because this is something that I wanted to buy for Riley anyway, and $300 or $400, like that to me was a good value on that product, where I feel like the amount of work that I'm doing is not totally equivalent the amount of work that I'm doing, but in my bones, like I felt okay with that kind of collaboration. So it is gonna be up to you to really determine what you want to do for free or what you want to do as far as like what your rates go, but don't undervalue yourself. There are so many people out there who are just accepting free product and then like just doing like 500 different photo shoots of the free product. And then when you think about it, if there are so many people doing that, why is a brand gonna pay anyone to do it? Why would a brand pay the person who says, you know what, my minimum rate is $100 for professional photos if people are doing them for free? It just doesn't make any sense. Like I said at the beginning, as an influencer, you are an extension of that brand's marketing team. Would they pay their marketing team? Yeah, they would pay their marketing team, otherwise no one would go to work. So if you are doing work and you are highlighting their brand and you are taking photos and you're talking about their product and you're even creating videos and things like that, you better be paid, or that better be worth like a whole lot of money, because no one should have to work for free. And I know that a lot of you are gonna listen to that and you're gonna say, okay, like to a certain extent that makes sense. But what if I have never worked with a brand? What if I'm brand new to this? Shouldn't I be accepting free products so that I can kind of start building that portfolio? Yes, if it's what I said before, if the value of that product is something that's really great, or if it's something that you really have been wanting anyway, then sure. There is another way to kind of get that experience under your belt in what I think is a little bit more a strategic kind of way, and that's by starting to promote products that you already have. If there are products and brands that you swear by, that you love, like just look around in your house, like go around room to room and figure out what products you love, that you swear by, and start promoting those. Start taking photos of those, putting them on your feed, putting them on your Insta stories, and tag the brand. Tag the brand that you're showcasing. And then that way, once you have that audience that we've been talking about, where you've been cultivating an engaged community, you can approach that brand and say, hey, you know, I've shared your product with my audience for months now. My daughter and I are obsessed with your product. We use it all the time and we include it in our vlogs. And here are some examples, and then you can link to all the photos you've already taken for them. I think at that point, the brand is gonna be a lot more receptive to working with you once you've already been sharing their stuff than if you just approach them cold turkey and you're just like, hey, I like your stuff, please work with me. And in that same token, you're now able to provide brands with examples of previous work. You're able to showcase the kind of photography skills that you have, the kind of blog post and writing skills and video creation skills that they're gonna wanna see anyway. And if you're including their product in those examples, again, I just think that helps you like a whole lot. All right, guys, so that's gonna be the end of today's video, because again, if not, it's gonna be 1,000 years long. But thank you guys so much for watching. Any other questions that you have, leave them down below. Thanks so much for watching this blogging series. Tomorrow's video is just gonna be filled with just some general advice for newbie bloggers, so stay tuned for that. But definitely give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my other videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.